Have you ever spent like 20 minutes trying to convince a friend they really need to start using a password manager? Or maybe, switch their investment strategy?
Yeah, all the time.
And the thing is, it's usually not that they disagree intellectually, right? The real hurdle is getting them to actually stop scrolling, open a new tab, and just do the thing.
Take that immediate action.
Exactly. That level of really personal persuasion, getting you, the individual, to change right now, that's what we're digging into today. We are doing a deep dive into, well, the blueprint, the structure, the absolute must-haves for crafting what we're calling a personal policy persuasive speech.
Right.
This isn't just theory, it's the tactical guide for actually changing someone's immediate behavior.
And that distinction, personal versus public, it's crucial. We need to be really clear about the mission here.
Okay.
Persuasion kind of comes in two main flavors. You've got public policy speeches. Those aim for big institutional change. Think getting the city council to ban plastic bags or getting government funding for something.
Right, changing the system.
Exactly.
What?
But our focus today, based on the sources, is squarely on the personal policy speech. That's an immediate demand for action directed right at you, the listener, as an individual.
So we're not aiming for just passive agreement here, like nodding along thinking, oh, that sounds nice.
No, definitely not.
We are hunting for actual behavioral change. The goal is moving the listener from just sitting there to, well, doing something. Execution.
And for that kind of high-stakes influence, you really can't just wing it. The data shows pretty clearly that the most effective structure is what's called the classic argument.
Okay, the classic argument.
Yeah, and this structure, it's almost like a contract with your audience. You have to lay out all your strong, evidence-based reasons first. Only then, after you've made your case completely, only then do you tackle the skepticism.
The objections, the concerns, the stuff that's really holding them back.
Precisely. You deal with those after building the positive case.
Okay, let's unpack that. So this structure, it's critical because it helps avoid, sloppy thinking.
That's exactly right. If you find yourself struggling to structure your argument, that struggle itself is often a symptom. It means your research might be incomplete or your logic is still a bit muddled.
Huh.
It reminds me of that great quote from Richard Guidon, "Writing is nature's way of showing you how sloppy your thinking is."
Huh. Yeah, that fits.
A rigid structure forces you to get organized. It demands you present your intellectual work cleanly. And for maximum impact, the sweet spot, time-wise, for this kind of focused persuasion, usually a tight 6 to 8 minutes.
State, okay.
Any longer, and you start losing them.
Yeah.
Cognitive fatigue sets in.
Got it. So let's talk about the maybe the biggest rule, the one that anchors this whole idea and makes it actually relevant, the we you mandate.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
This is absolutely non-negotiable. Remember the objective. Individual action.
Right.
If the speech drifts into being about you, the speaker, talking about your own experiences too much, the audience just tunes out. And if it's about some vague group, like people should or society needs to, well, the listener just mentally delegates that task to someone else. It's not their job.
Right. You can't afford those generalizations. You can't just say, oh, everyone should think about using reusable water bottles. You have to be explicit. Use the second person.
Directly.
You should download this budgeting app. Or you should not save your credit card details in your browser. That word you, it forces the listener to process it differently.
Filter the noise, yeah. It's not general info anymore. It's a personal instruction. Harder to ignore.
Okay, so direct address is key. Now, how do we build the message itself? You mentioned Aristotle's tools.
Right. The three classic rhetorical tools, they all need to be working together. Ethos, pathos, and logos.
Ethos, pathos, logos, the big three.
Yep. Ethos is your credibility, your integrity. Pathos is the emotional connection making them care. And logos is the logic, the facts, the reasons, the roadmap for how to act.
And these aren't just abstract ideas. We weave them right into the very first minute, the introduction. The research gives us a really tight 4-point checklist for that intro.
And it's a clever integration of all three pillars, starting, importantly, with pathos, because logic alone rarely spurs people to action.
Okay, so point 1 is the hook. Gotta grab their attention emotionally, pull the heartstrings maybe, or introduce a problem that makes them immediately feel the stakes.
Exactly. Like a startling statistic about identity theft if you're pushing for a password manager, or maybe a short, vivid story about a costly mistake someone made. Make them feel it.
Then number 2, reveal. The thesis. This is where you state clearly and directly what action you should take or not take.
Explicitly using that word euthe. No ambiguity.
Got it. Third requirement. This one feels really crucial today. Credibility. Ethos.
Extremely crucial. You have to state two things very clearly. First, that you've actually done serious research on this. You're not just sharing an opinion.
Okay, show the work.
But second, and maybe even more powerful, you have to state that you, the speaker, personally follow the advice you're giving.
Ah, the skin in the game factor.
That's paramount. In this age of, constant information flow, people are rightly skeptical of speakers just reciting talking points. Your credibility really hinges on showing you practice what you preach.
Yeah, if you're telling me to cut my cable bill to save money, but I find out you're still paying $150 a month.
Your ethos is shot. Doesn't matter how good your facts are after that. The trust is broken.
Makes total sense. So the intro is basically laying out, look, I've researched this, I actually do this myself, and here's exactly what I want you to do.
And that sets up the final piece of the intro, the preview. You briefly list the main reasons, usually 3, that support your claim. And critically, you must mention right there up front that you'll also address their potential concerns and objections later.
Ah, okay. So you're acknowledging their skepticism from the start.
It's a promise. I know you might have doubts, and I'm going to deal with them. That promise itself builds huge ethos. They know you're not going to ignore the tricky parts.
All right. So intro sets the stage with credibility and emotion, ethos, and pathos. Then the body paragraphs. That's where we really lean into the facts, right? Into logos.
Absolutely. Logos, the facts, the stats, the logical reasoning, the expert quotes. That needs to be the main engine driving the body of your speech. You're appealing primarily to the mind here.
Using solid evidence to back up why they should change.
Exactly. And of course, you sustain your ethos throughout by using the best, most unbiased research you can find, being honest with the data.
But here's where we hit a potential pitfall.
Yeah.
The anecdote trap you mentioned. The source material flags this pretty strongly.
It does. Look, a single, well-chosen brief story can be okay to illustrate a point sometimes. But relying too heavily on lots of little personal anecdotes, that's usually a red flag.
Why? What does it signal?
It often signals that the argument is actually quite weak, that it's lacking solid, verifiable research. It's substituting charm for evidence.
Right. It's like that Mark Twain quote, there is nothing so annoying as a good example.
Huh. Yeah, it fits perfectly. A good example is fine, but it can't be your whole case. You need robust external proof. The facts, the figures that show this approach works broadly, not just for, your cousin Vinny who tried it once.
Okay, so rely on logos, strong reasons backed by evidence. But what kind of reasons actually motivate people to change their immediate personal behavior? What are the universal triggers?
Well, the research lists several motivators, but it really highlights two as the absolute biggest drivers. If you want someone to change now, you generally need to convince them that change will either save them time.
Okay, time.
Or
save
them money.
Time or money. The big two.
If your argument doesn't clearly hit at least one of those, preferably both, you're really fighting an uphill battle against inertia and habit.
Those are like the universal levers then. If I'm trying to get you on board with meal prepping, sure, I could talk about health benefits. But if I can prove it saves you, say, 40 minutes every single day and cuts your monthly food bill by $300.
Now you're talking. You've hit something directly relevant to their immediate self-interest. That's powerful.
Okay. What else works besides time and money?
Other strong motivators are things like making their life significantly safer or healthier or noticeably easier. Making something more enjoyable can work too. Even appeals to altruism, like helping the environment or other people, they can be valid. But they rarely trigger that immediate personal action unless they're also clearly linked back to a time or money-saving benefit for the individual listener. It's just how we're wired, for the most part.
Got it. So structurally, in that 6 to 8 minute time frame, we need balance. You said 3 distinct evidence-backed reasons supporting the main point.
Yes, 3 main points driving the logos.
But those 3 reasons, that's only, what, like 2/3 of the body?
You mentioned something called the crucial pivot that comes next.
The pivot, yes. This is the section dedicated entirely to responding directly to the audience's objections. It's where you show you really understand their hesitation.
And here's that paradox we talked about earlier. For a topic to be genuinely persuasive in this context, most of your audience has to disagree with you initially, right?
Pretty much. If everyone already agrees, you're not persuading anyone to change. You're just, preaching to the choir.
So that makes dealing with objections maybe the most high-stakes part of the whole speech?
Absolutely. because the objections aren't just abstract disagreements. They're the actual practical reasons stopping your listener from doing what you're asking. You have to address them head on.
And there's a specific way to do it, a structure for handling objections.
Yes, a very precise, strategic four-step process.
Yeah.
And handled correctly, it actually builds your ethos even further while deploying logos.
Okay, take us through the steps.
Step 1. Introduce the objection, but use direct address again. You may believe, or you might be thinking.
Not some people say, or my opponents argue.
No, avoid that.
Yeah.
Keep it collaborative, not confrontational. I understand you might think this.
Okay. Step 2. This is the one that seemed counterintuitive, validating the opposing idea.
Right, and the key is how you validate it. You actually quote a credible expert or source that holds that opposing view.
So you're not just saying, yeah, some people worry about cost. You're saying, financial expert Jane Doe notes that the upfront cost can be a barrier.
Exactly. This does two powerful things. One, it proves your research was thorough. You even looked into the arguments against your position. Two, it shows respect for the objection. You're not dismissing it as silly. You're acknowledging it's a legitimate concern held by credible people.
So it makes it seem like, okay, I get why you think that. I've looked into it deeply.
And I respect the concern. But, and that leads to step 3. Once you've stated the objection and validated it with a source, you signal your turn, your rebuttal, with a strong transition word. The sources specifically recommend, however.
Just like that, boldly.
That's the recommendation. However, it's a clear pivot. It tells the audience, okay, I've fairly presented the counter-argument, now watch me dismantle it.
All right. And step 4?
Deliver the rebuttal. First, explain your counter-argument in your own words, synthesizing your evidence. Then immediately back up your own rebuttal with a quote from your expert supporting your side.
Okay, so state objection directly, validate with their expert, pivot with, however, rebut, in my words, support with my expert.
That's the structure. And you need to do this for at least 2 distinct opposing views, making sure you tackle the most likely ones, especially anything related to, well,
time and money.
Time and money, the big hurdles.
This really feels like where the whole thing could succeed or fail spectacularly. The electric car example you mentioned earlier really highlights this.
It's a perfect illustration. A speaker could give 3 brilliant reasons why an EV is better for the planet, maybe cheaper fuel costs long term. Intellectually, the audience might be totally convinced, nodding along.
Yeah, sounds great. I agree in principle.
But if that speaker completely skips the pivot section or fails to properly address the audience's biggest actual objection, which is usually the huge upfront purchase price, and maybe worries about charging convenience,
then the speech completely fails to change behavior, even if they agreed with all the reasons.
Exactly. Because you might have won the intellectual argument about saving the planet, but you didn't solve the listener's immediate practical problem, how can I afford this right now? Or where will I charge it easily?
Failure to address the real reasons holding them back means you fail to change their behavior, full stop.
The persuasion just evaporates. The mind might say yes, but the wallet or the schedule says no. And you didn't give the wallet or schedule a way forward.
Wow. Okay, so intro sets the stage. Body builds the case with logos focused on time money, then the crucial pivot handles objections directly and strategically. What about the foundation supporting all this, the research itself?
Yeah, none of this works without solid evidence. Credibility ethos is built on data they can trust. The sources are clear. For this kind of speech, you need at least 5 distinct, properly cited sources.
Minimum 5.
Minimum. And frankly, aiming for 8 to 10 is much better. It shows you've really done the work. Strong evidence combined with that tight classic argument structure.
Yeah.
That's what elevates it from just wishful thinking to an actual actionable policy proposal.
And finally, the landing, the conclusion, the call to action. The research really emphasizes that the most effective persuasive speeches don't just end with, so, think about it. They aim for a call to action that can, ideally, be demonstrated right then and there.
Yeah, something immediate and measurable. It could be as simple as asking everyone to pull out their phones right now and download the app you just recommended.
Or maybe coming to the front after the speech to try a sample of whatever healthy snack you were advocating for.
Exactly. It's an immediate physical action that provides instant proof, both to you and to them, that the persuasion actually worked. It moved them.
And that brings us right to our final thought for you, the listener. Why is that kind of successful, demonstrable call to action, that immediate, observable shift in behavior? Why is that considered the absolute best proof that a persuasive speech truly landed?
Well, think about it. Agreement is easy. It's cheap. Anyone can nod and say, good idea.
But action is the real currency of persuasion, isn't it? It shows the message didn't just inform, it actually motivated.
Precisely.
Oh.
So thinking about these rules, the HUU mandate, time, money, credibility, handling objections directly. Here's your challenge. What simple, measurable action could you persuade someone you know to take? Maybe in the next 5 minutes.
Go find your 3 solid reasons, back them up, and don't forget to figure out their top 2 objections and prepare your however. That's your deep dive challenge for today.